and welcome to Epiphytic Cacti. Today we're going to talk about the epiphyllum hybrid, Four Winds. According to the Epiphyllum Society of America, Four Winds was registered in 1981. The hybridizer was Russie Koch. It was registered by Ethel M. Hurst of Hurst Nursery. The description is deep red with dark purple edges, outer petals red, irregular cup and saucer form, basket growth. It is a medium-sized flower. And the mother or seed parent was ruby snowflake, and the father or pollen parent was tassel. Ruby snowflake and tassel are two very identifiable flowers in the epiphyllum community. Ruby snowflake is very red, a lot of petals. It sometimes I've seen a lot of pictures where it actually seems like it's really kind of difficult to get a really clean bloom. It seems to come out more irregular shaped than not. And tassel, I would actually say that Four Winds has inherited tassel's shape, more of the petals and more of the shape of tassel, where it is actually kind of inherited somewhat more of the color of ruby snowflake. I mean, it's obviously like the edges of it are obviously fuchsia, and then it's got like a much darker, deeper sort of red mid-striping in it. So it's not exactly like ruby snowflake's colors, but fairly close. So it's always interesting when you see a hybrid that, like this one, where you can actually detect, the traits of the parents very strongly. I obtained this plant on 6/12/2018. So this is its first time bloom. It's been about 2 years. It had more buds on it, but the buds aborted. I would actually say that this is a medium grower. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at the flower. So, right off the bat, I mean, you can definitely see the outer edge of the petal is more of a fuchsia color, while the inner part of the petal is a very, very deep red. Towards the center here, these petals are getting a little irregular. Partially, I think when it rains a lot, and then the flower goes to open, it can get the petals can get slightly stuck together. So, like, rain can have kind of an interesting impact on the shape of the flower. I think that there is a term that they use to describe this kind of event when it like the tips of the petals, they can sometimes get a little bit twisted and like stuck together, and it can cause abnormalities in the flower, which they call bullnosing. I don't really think that this is bullnose, but I think that the inner petals just got a little bit irregular. Bullnosing, a lot of times what will end up happening is that the flower, it will look smashed. So it's not really like the petals are not as long as they would have been otherwise. I think this is an absolutely gorgeous flower. The stamen are they're very red, and the stigma is pink. Going for a little bit of a different angle, I think that what's really interesting here is more reminiscent like of tassel, the way that these back petals are actually splaying kind of backwards like this. And then the front petals are staying forward. But I think that what's interesting is down by the base, you can see the tube of the epiphyllum, which is giving it a very nice effect back here. I think of it kind of fading from that green into the red into the violet. It's just a really kind of pretty coloration. The bud was really, really cool looking too. How the bud had kind of come out, it was the first time that I had ever really seen a larger multi-petaled flower where the petals were narrow. I wasn't really expecting this good of a form out of this flower, really. Most of the pictures that I've seen of this flower have been sort of irregular, and by irregular, it's really kind of like the flower is misshapen. It's not, this has like a very clear defined form. I can see the form in this flower. I can see the cup and saucer form. And while the petals in here are just a tiny bit irregular, I've actually just seen this flower look like kind of a hot mess. And I like to call flowers that look really irregular like that, I like to say they have bedhead. Like, they're just all kinds of messy. It looks like bad 80s perm, or like, you remember in the 80s when everyone crimped their hair. I'm still waiting for that style to come back, because it seems like it's the one style that just has not come back. But that's kind of what the irregular form is. The petals will come out and they'll just go any which way, and they're sometimes they twist sometimes, but the form is just not present. It's just really irregular. So I'm very impressed by the fact that this flower did not do that. for first time bloom. I'm also kind of impressed by the fact that it has a good petal count on it. A lot of times with first time blooms like this, it will have a smaller petal count. So it'll be interesting to see, next year, does this flower actually have more petals? Because that can actually happen. It's something that I think, like as a new grower, it's unexpected that sometimes a flower that should have a very high petal count on its first bloom will have a very low petal count, or not the petal count that you're expecting. It'll just have a lot less petals, but then on the next year that it blooms, like it will have, more petals because it has more energy to produce all of that. I think that's a very interesting phenomenon. Thank you for watching, and happy cacti growing.